Welcome to the Father Figure Formula. Create moments that matter.
Okay, perfect. Well, today we have a very special guest for our Father Figure Formula Fireside chat. This man can give his own introduction because I don't think I would do it justice. The man, the myth, the legend, Bobby James, Mr. Drum and Dirty, otherwise one half of Destinique. I've had the pleasure of knowing this gentleman for quite some time. We could probably sit here and do a variety of stories, stage performances, shows, just all around good times in the musicality department. But I will give you a minute or two to maybe give yourself your own introduction, and then we'll get into some hard-hitting Father Figure Formula questions, okay?
A minute or two. I don't know if I got that. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me, Lance. I love what you're doing. My name is Bobby James, and yeah, I have an 8-year-old son and a marriage of 13 years. Been together with my wife for 21, and there's a lot of bumps and bangs and ups and downs, and but we're madly in love as a family, and we've got a lot of great support. Let's dive into some questions here. Let's see where we're gonna go.
Madly in love as a family. That is just something that really warms my heart. I love to hear that.
Yeah, we're blessed.
Yeah, blessed for 100%. Yeah. Okay, so like, if we were to strip away all the music and the titles that we kind of went through, like who is Bobby James really, in a nutshell?
Well, I'm kind of a farm boy. I grew up on a farm. I'm actually a foster kid. My brother and I ended up being taken away from our biological parents when we were 5 and 6. So we ended up being moved into a few foster homes around, sort of temporary stuff. And then we found a permanent one, which, my mom and dad are still, my mom's alive. My dad passed away, but they are our parents. They fostered 42 kids over 25 years. So we grew up with a few brothers and sisters. Swinging in the trees, banging hubcaps and just being kids, like throwing around bales of hay and pulling everything out of the field to the garden and putting it in the freezer and the fridge for the winter. So we learned, how to work the land, work ethic. We learned about animals. We learned about building, all sorts of cool stuff. When you're a kid, it's just such a great way to really experience like childhood. It was awesome. I don't think there's any better way than being able to, put your fishing rod in a lake, or, go feed the chickens and collect eggs fresh. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A lot of kids don't get those opportunities now because land is so expensive, and, it's so divided up, and it's hard to get out to big pieces of property where you can have that kind of, access to putting in a farm, or, even a couple of chickens or some animals, right?
But, yeah, I think even from a value perspective, we briefly were kind of chatting before about having those elements for ourselves and our kids, the space or the place to go and be able to run around and not have any worries, right? Kind of brings us back to our childhood, yeah.
Yeah, the 80s.
Yeah, right? We're dating ourselves a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. So what version of you existed before marriage, the fatherhood, the touring? Like, what would that man even recognize you now? Like, who was that man before?
Oh, gosh. The boy?
Yeah, was it the farm boy, or was it kind of, looking for something different, or maybe go into that a little bit more?
Are we talking like kind of like
before marriage, fatherhood, music, all that?
Okay. Gosh, just, yeah, a kid, with a paper route, trying to put a smile on people's faces. I always figured that, I don't know, for some reason, I always had a thought in my head that, getting the access to be born, you should at least make the world a little bit better than, by the time you leave, it should be a little bit better. So, I don't know. I always tried to put a smile on people's face. I got into drumming really early, which was great. It kept me busy, kept my mind, and kept me on a straight path until I found, the clubs. Mm-hmm. And then you get into all sorts of parties and stuff there. So that gets pretty exciting when you're young, but, can be pretty debaucherous for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like even for me, music, the passion kind of really stayed with me, and that was something I could always go back to. It was always a consistency. It was always something that was there for me, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, be creative. That's a way of giving back, I think, too.
Yeah.
Just keeping that, I don't know, just being able to give back. It's very exciting to like we're writing right now. We're writing so much right now. It's been so great. We'll get to this later on in the interview, but we're still doing it after all these years. And it's just as exciting because there's more tools. There's new fusions of different styles of music. There's new places to play it to get it on stage. So yeah.
Awesome. So what's one moment from your younger years that secretly prepared you for fatherhood? Like maybe even though you didn't know it at the time.
Oh my gosh.
That work ethic is a big one. I think that's an interesting topic.
I would think probably the thing that prepared me for how I treat Xander now. I would think probably the absence of a father that says, "Hey, you're my son. Let's, we got this. Let's do this." It was more kind of, we were more kind of like, I don't know. There were so many kids that it was really hard to get like the attention from, mom and dad, like, "Hey, we love you." That didn't really happen in our environment. So you were always kind of trying to please or trying to get the attention, and maybe that got you into trouble, or maybe that got you, a different perspective. But I think I really like kind of shower Xander with that extra attention now because I didn't get it, and I want him to feel confident and loved, and I want that hand on the back of his shoulder, know that he's got someone there. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Yeah. And especially, I think it's an important part of development, right? To know that somebody's there for you, right? Especially at that age. So, okay, if your younger self could see you now as a dad, what would surprise him most?
Wow. My younger self. Wow, you've calmed down.
Yeah.
you've certainly dialed it back.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer.
I thought you were going to be a lot like, more fun, Dad.
But you still kind of got the mohawk kind of thing going almost, right?
Yeah,
I'd say you're pretty cool, man.
That's just marketing, about that.
You're sticking with it. Okay, so 21 years together, man. That's an accomplishment for sure. So what's the real glue that kept you two from falling apart when you have to say a lot of couples do?
Wow. The real glue is being creative together for sure. We're constantly challenging each other. We've always got something that's getting thrown in the melting pot, and there's always like some sort of problem to kind of like solve, or some sort of like equation. Like math is music is math, and it's like these parts, these arrangements, this like correct sort of like feeling, chord structures. When you get, and Christina's like, she's unbelievable. Like she's got a degree in music, and went to jazz and everything. So she's like, I go, it makes me feel great. And then she's like, but that doesn't look great on paper. So we have this, this back and forth. I think our egos kind of get out of hand every once in a while because I want it my way and she wants it her way. And we hear things differently, obviously, but at the end, it's always for the greater good. It's always about, moving things forward and not going to bed mad. I don't know. We're super attracted to each other. I get to see her on stage performing all the time. So I'm like, I get to see this rock star like there in front of me. And then all of a sudden, I get home mommy too. So it's, I get the Click wife, the lady on the movie Click, and then you get like this rock star, and you get like all these different sort of dynamics with her. And it really keeps a guy guessing. Whereas if it was just like, hey, let's go to the pub, or, oh man, you got to shave like once a month, you got to respect each other's, like, we're on stage all the time. So you got to clean yourself up. You got to look presentable. You got to like smell good. and there's an attraction to that, there's like this, like, this glue that kind of like, we're always pushing forward to to try and like, I don't know, just impress. Not
It's unique. No, yeah, that makes sense. You're always always trying to look the best for the date, because the date is the show.
Yeah, I mean, going to a gig and getting paid is kind of a date, I guess.
Yeah, that's the best type of date. So what was the exact moment you thought, yep, she's my person? Not like the romantic one, but I guess like the real one.
First day.
First day.
First day, I told her I was going to marry her, man. I'm not kidding.
That's amazing.
She phoned her sister and she's like, this guy's tripping me out, man. This guy's, it's like, it's kind of creepy, man.
It's pretty serious.
Yeah. But I think he just told me that he wanted to marry me. And I'm like, nope. I don't know what it was, man. Like, she smelled good or something.
That's awesome.
I was like,
you knew.
Yeah, I want to like bonk her in the head, and, like grab her ponytail and just drag her back to my cave.
Man.
But yeah, there was a lot of things going on that night. We kind of met at a club thing. I was doing my, you remember, my drum and dirty thing.
Yeah.
And, where I was kind of DJing and drumming at the same time and, fusing this sort of live aspect. And Christina was the opening band at the club at the time. I think it was Aura. Yeah. And then she had some stuff happen with family that was really terrible, and she wasn't going to do the gig. And then one of her bandmates said, just come on, get your mind off it for a couple hours and then, go back to it. And then we kind of met at this show, and then it just worked out. I was just like, what needs to happen? Let's make this happen. Let's go. Let's do things, get your family going or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I guess it kind of like, just sort of surprised the situation, and we just kind of fired, like it was just sparks going and going and going. And then one of my friends who hired us both for that show said, well, we need you in Calgary like next week. Can you rent a van and get your stuff out there? And then we did that like 10 times in 1 year. It was just like nonstop, just boom, 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 boom. And you get to know each other when you travel 10 hours in a van together, man. For sure. And, and then we got a record deal, and then we got like, all these different things just started happening, and we're just barely managing it because, there's a lot of just situations where you're drinking too much, or maybe you're, in the back room or whatever it is. And at that time, there was no real purpose for spending our energy properly. And it was just like, just gushing out of us because it felt so good to have it come back. And the more we gave out, the more this, fusion of energy would come back. Oh, you guys are great, and blah, 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 blah. And it would support our unity, and our relationship would seem like it was getting better. And, we kind of dodged a few bullets and whatever it was down the line. But Christina always wanted to have kids. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to have kids. I don't know. Maybe we can go there right now in the conversation. But I didn't think that I had it to be a father, because I never had somebody teach me what a good father was. Mm-hmm. I knew what a good provider was, but I never thought that I was like, my real biological father passed away when I was 12. Yeah, and so. And we weren't with him like since we were 6. So I remember him very briefly. And then my father on the farm, Vic, he was so busy just, kind of keeping the all the pieces running, all the parts running. There was, it was like, hey, did you do this? Or did you do that? Yeah, great. Okay, good night. Okay, so are you hungry? Okay, cool. Good night. Yeah. And then, make sure you do homework, right? And then all those things just kind of, I didn't really see a good vision for like what I needed to be a father. So I just said, no, it's just not in my scope. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. I'm a great drummer, man. I know I can do that. Yeah. I know and if I fail at being a father, then people are going to look at me weird, and they're not going to accept me as, everything's going to fall apart. Yeah. That internal pressure you put on yourself, I can see. Oh, jeez, man. It was terrible. But you know what? I started asking, I just started praying, man. I wasn't going to church or nothing. Like 18 years, Christina asked me to come to church. She would sing in the choir, man. Oh, wow. And, when she was growing up, she was like really like, her family was, they went to church all the time, and it was a big part of her upbringing. Yeah. And I'm just like, no way, man. Cause my real mom, she was severely, she was mentally ill, schizophrenic, all these different medications and stuff like that. And she would read the Bible, and then she would would preach these, these parts out of the Bible, and then she would do something completely horrific to us, which is why we got taken away, and say, well, the devil made me do it, or whatever it was. And I was just like, holy crap, man, religion, Bible, church, I'm going, and I went and got in a metal band. I was on the road with like Metallica
direction. Yeah.
And, like I was doing stuff with Megadeth and like, big arena bands. And so that was kind of my safety. I was just like, yeah, man, I'm accepted here. And then on the road, I ended up trying to I was trying to read scripture a little bit and try to just stay on track, because there's so much going on. Like in those environments, it's absolutely, it's crazy. On a tour bus, and you don't come home. Hey, Xander, I'm just doing an interview. Hey, bud. Thanks. We'll see you in a minute. Okay. See you in a minute. Thanks. And so I tried, and then I would fall off. I would try, just close the door, please. I would try, and then I would fall off. And then all my friends would be like, oh, yeah, whatever, man. And they'd kind of make fun of me. And I would just be like, oh, man, I just gave up. Yeah. So then when Christina and I met, that was like 20 years before I'm, at the point where I met Christina, all that stuff had happened before. Yeah. And then we ended up, I started, she's like, man, I'm pulling the goalie. We're having a kid. I'm at that age right now, man. It's gonna happen. Like this is like, you are my husband, and this is your duty. Like, I want children. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I think we can do this. And then she came out in this crazy outfit, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't. And then boom, it's done. Pulled the goalie. Oh my god.
Let's not go with that moment then. Like what shifted in your soul the moment your son arrived then?
Christina, I couldn't, there's no way I was robbing her of something that she really wanted. Like, I was just like, if it means me kind of getting my together, I can do it for you. That's a start. I'll learn. I just, all of a sudden it was just, I just seen her, and I'm like, I'm not letting her get away, man. And if that's one of the things that is a possibility, then no way, I gotta man up here.
Yeah. So how did becoming a father change the way you kind of talk to yourself then, or approach the situation?
Well, I did a lot of searching, and I did start reading back. I did start getting back into, I don't know, maybe I was talking to my phone and Facebook heard me or something. And, these advertisements started to come up, and I got a book here, actually. This changed my life. This book here. You see that one?
Yeah. Okay.
So this book absolutely changed my life. And John Eldredge, he's a Christian author, and he's got a couple of kids. I think he had 3, and don't quote me on this, but I know he's got a couple of kids, and they're hiking in the mountains, and they're doing man stuff. It's boy and man, and hiking the trails and doing really cool things together. And he kind of broke it down and said that, well, because when you have a kid, it's like, oh my God, the kid's here. If I mess up, what happens if I can't feed him, or I don't have any money, or I'm oh my god, I'm gonna go to jail, he's gonna get taken away. All these things go through your head. I can't do it. It's all of a sudden you're giving him the keys to your car, and it's here you're already in college, and it doesn't have to happen like that. And I just thought it was oh my god, I got a kid, now my life is over, my career is over, everything. I just thought it was going to be over. So that's what really tripped me out. And so I started searching, and I found this book, and he broke it into pieces. And he was like, well, first they're an infant, then they're a child, then they're a boy, then they're a cowboy, then they're a warrior, then they're a prince, then they're a king, and then they're a sage. And you got to enjoy every piece. And when you get to enjoy every piece of that, then you can break it down and say, well, oh man, geez, he's only going to be that long age for that long. Let's really get every moment out of this, and what are other people doing that are influencing the positivity of their childhood at that time in other, where's proven spots. So you start looking, you start reading, you start asking other people, and you start finding just other men that have done it properly, and you go and search, and then you just, slowly you turn it around, and you get a few accomplishments, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel so good about this. And then they come in and give you a little hug, and you're like, oh my God, it's so worth it.
Yeah, the small things. I really felt like the small moments are almost the most rewarding, because you don't really expect them, right? And then they happen, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So what's one thing fatherhood forced you to face in yourself?
The hardest thing at that point where he was born was I really didn't want, I brought myself to be this person that was known for, like this certain style, that's how I was making my living. And I was always promoting that. It was ego driven. It was based, hey, look at this, look at me, look at me, look at me. What kind of business can we do? How do I continue getting to play my drums? And as soon as I decided that wasn't the most important thing anymore, that kind of fell away for, a year or so. And then it came back so much stronger because I had stopped strangling it. And all of a sudden it just started to flow. And all that I thought I was losing, I gained 10 times. Plus I had a child. Plus I had a successful, marriage that was moving forward. It was like, it's not rain, there's raindrops like every day, but yeah. You get through them and you just knock it off as another day that you got to be together, and you got to be a provider. You get to, like, you're entrusted, like when these children are born, that's a gift from, like, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, I don't know, what everybody's religious base is, or what there is. It's a gift from the universe or whatever it is. But I know it's a gift from God in my heart. And when you see that happen, and all of a sudden the doctor goes, boom, it's a boy, and his balls are this big, and he yells at you like the Incredible Hulk, your life changes, man.
Yep.
And you just feel so responsible for another life, that you become in service of something other than yourself.
Yeah.
And you feel the happiness of just giving just so fluently to something that's, they need you, like, they roll over, you got to turn them back up, you got to feed them and stuff like this. But that whole infant, I got to put things in the plugs and all the, don't fall down the stairs kind of stuff. All those things are training, man. And it's a way for you to release you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your ego you become humbled, man.
Well, what do you think is the hard, like, because you mentioned a few things regarding kind of the early stages. So what do you think is like the hardest part of being a dad? And what's kind of the moment that makes all the hard kind of worth it? And again, it might be the little things, might be the big things. So what's the hardest part, do you think?
I would say probably repeating myself, like just constantly, like, hey man, can you clean up can you do, can you clean up your toys? Can you get your homework done? Can you, I'm at a point in my life where it's like a system works. I don't touch it. It's like, auto, it's working, it's bringing in income or whatever it is. It's just like, I don't want to bother with it. But with, with an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old or whatever it is, you're constantly you have to realize that they're still learning, like constantly. And they don't even compute some of those things. So I don't know if there's really any hard things about it. I would just say, I don't know. I mean, if repeating myself is a hard thing.
The repetition. Yeah. I feel like I've had other dads who will say, they don't listen. I have to repeat myself over and over and over. So I think some of this comes down to even the communications and like the systems you set in place. So I guess going into the next question, in 20 years, how do you hope your son describes you? Like, not as an artist, but as a dad.
Yeah, that's an important question for sure. We're taking a really big, we both work from home. So we're with him all the time. Like, we both drop him off at school, then we go for a hike, and then we come back and pick him up, and then we go, hey man, you want to go out, or come home and get a snack, and then take you to judo. And we're together like a lot more than a lot of people because we have the luxury of working a couple times a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would hope that he would say, yeah, my dad took a lot of chances. He showed me that I'm allowed to do anything that I want. If I feel something in my heart, I can go get it. I'd like him to think that, you know, that he can throw a punch and take a punch, that he had a good sense of humor, you know, and that he taught me things that I'm using in my daily life.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of dads don't. I see a lot of channels on YouTube, and I watch Focus on the Family. That's a really good website. Christina got me into that.
Yeah.
And I'm watching a podcast right now with the author of Stand Firm, Act Like Men, Pastor Joel B. Martin.
Yeah.
And he's got like serious guys around his table. He's got like probably about 10 guys, like, you know, NFL superstar, you know, country and Western, like megastar, like these guys. You know, I can't name off the names because I just watched it today. You know, 17-time best author, New York best book, you know, like all these guys, you know, best, you know, hunter in Africa or whatever it is, like guys, like serious dudes sitting around the table, and they're all talking about this, and it's all faith-based on what men are missing, and that the transition right now doesn't happen. That when you were, you know, let's say living in a tribal era, there was something that the men would take the younger, the boys, when they were going to transition out to be men, to become men, you know, that point had a couple of weeks where they would go out, they would hunt, kill something, bring it back and feed the rest of the tribe. And that was, now you're a man. So there's no real kind of like any point, you know. Now it's like, what do we do? Where is it? And so this is why I constantly go back, and you know, I go to church once a week. I read scripture every night. And to me, scripture, it's a really great reference to a line of truth. And like, there's a lot of great things that if you do, just like the 10 Commandments, you know, if you just live with that in your mind, and your first default is to do one of those 10 Commandments, you know, treat your neighbor like you want to be treated, you know, just those few things, and you ask for help when you need it, you know, my life has gotten so much better just because I've concentrated on trying to have a default. Instead of having a default of anger, I have a default of asking, hey man, like, what would God be happy with me doing right now about this?
Yeah.
And how, you know, I need some help. Like, I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
As soon as I realized that, and all this weight came off my shoulders, man, and I stopped puffing my chest out, and, you know, and like, hey, look at this, you know, and making it seem like I was in control when I wasn't.
Yeah. And I think like you're interested in you're focusing on something in particular. And I think there's like a lot of dads or fathers and men in general that just kind of like, you know, bury themselves in their work. So, I mean, I've talked to a lot of men, I can say, who feel like they're failing because work really pulls them away in that instance. So obviously you being, you know, having gig jobs or like the touring and the hustling, as you were kind of mentioning before, like how do you navigate the pressure to provide and also kind of be present?
Well, Christina's a big part of that. Her side of the family, she's Vietnamese, so her side of the family is very Eastern and Western, you know, family culture is a lot different. Eastern family culture is you bring, you know, grandma and grandpa to every, you know, dinner, and they aren't put in a home. Western culture is like, okay, well, you know, let's sell the house, and, you know, she's getting too hard to handle, so, you know, off she goes, and we'll go visit her once a week. So there's a big connection to family there. You know, the sisters will take Xander. You know, I don't know, we're pretty lucky. Christina's on the phone a lot about it though. Like, I know her organizational skills, when we got a gig, it's another 30% just to take care of Xander, you know? But she's really like unbelievable. I just like kind of like drive around and go, okay, what do we need to do?
Time management is a big one for sure, right?
Yeah.
And I think also kind of setting those boundaries, especially when it's kind of work or family. So maybe, I don't know if this is coming from the Christina approach, but like what boundary kind of changed your family life the most once you really started protecting it?
I would say we kind of had to design boundaries. Like, we had to ask for boundaries first to know what we would say yes and no to. Are we talking like about business versus family?
just family life kind of boundaries, like anything in general. Could be work related, could be even within, within the family environment, the extended family environment, right?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I think I'm not sure. I would think that maybe there's the boundaries would be that we had to set for us that we were only going to work so much. So we had to be exposed to a crowd that was able to pay more or something, so that we could work less gigs and be there. That was something that we had to like really go after.
Yeah.
As far as in the house, I don't know. We're pretty open.
Well, communication, I think, is super important revolving around. Let's maybe go back to, I guess, the kind of the work kind of element, because then obviously there's a lot of dads out there who don't have your particular work situation. And what would you say to a dad who feels guilty like every time he has to get up and leave for work?
Oh man, yeah, that's got to be a tough one.
I mean, I've known the late nights too, just like you, as far as events, right? You're having to get up and leave, and it is late, and it might throw you off in your kind of sleep schedule. So, I mean, talk about that. Like, what do you think about? Do you feel a level of guilt? You obviously have a duty. You're providing. So, I mean, what would you say to another dad who maybe feels guilty every time he has to leave for work?
I think we're setting up enough sort of like environments where Xander's kind of excited that he gets to go and do something for the day. So say we gig on Friday, Saturday nights. Say Friday, it might be we're off to one of his favorite sisters, and they have a couple of kids, so they're gonna have a sleepover. Next night it might be babysit by the piano teacher. Just good, like really good, solid friends of the family. Yeah. So there's kind of like a good, there's a good variety where it keeps it. And then the next day, usually when we come back, this is the thing though, the next day, usually when we come back, it's like, it's not on anybody's fault, but, maybe he's being too polite and he doesn't want to eat enough, or maybe he didn't like brush his teeth or something, like just like parent stuff. And so he comes back and he kind of gives us a little bit of grief, and kind of like puts the elbow in our ribs, because maybe he does feel like there's a bit of an abandonment for the night, because our days are long. They're like it's 24 hours, or it's like 16 hours. It's not just like do a gig at 9, come home at 3. It's not like that. It's like we leave at like 2 in the afternoon and we get back at like 4 in the morning.
So I guess what's one thing you've sacrificed for your family that most people don't know about?
Oh gosh, that I've sacrificed. I don't think there's anything I've sacrificed. I think I've received so much more.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I would want. The only thing that maybe, because I'm learning about a network of strong men that are talking the same game, that are maybe a basketball night, or maybe a something that you do once a month or something. You go to the shooting range or whatever it is. I kind of, that sort of plays in my head that maybe I don't have that group of guys that. The group of guys I always hung out was in bands, and then I've been in a band with Christina for 20 years. So it's kind of dissipated, right? Yeah. I mean, that might be, sort of touching what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, no, that's perfect. So I guess to maybe go even to kind of the band element, and obviously again being a very unique situation that you're in a band with Christina, your wife, right? So I know you performed a bunch of massive stages. So when you look back, like what moment still kind of gives you chills
as a performer?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we were on the Kid Rock tour, and we'd opened for him in Detroit, like his hometown. And when he came out, and we were on stage first, and the crowd is just mad. Like it's crazy. And then when he came out and did his opening, it was just like, wow, we're like, we felt like we kind of hit a big moment there.
Yeah.
I would say, gosh, I don't know. We did so many shows with so many different bands. It's just a blur.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I'd say that was a pretty good one, right? So how do you kind of keep your artistic identity alive without kind of, losing yourself, you could say, in maybe the element of fatherhood or family life?
I don't know. It's hardwired into me, man. I've been trying to make the perfect beat, the perfect song. I played with a guy named Brian House, who is in one of the first bands that my first pro band, Young Gun. We were in bands we transitioned to a couple of other bands and stayed together as a unit. And he's now he's writing for everybody. It's like he's, millions and millions of dollars. And when spending time with him writing a perfect song, which is why he's, in Nashville every second week, writing with the biggest artists in the industry. I learned from him. We did 2 singles with him since, with Destinique as well. So just trying to get back to there. We want to write a song that connects with people. And right now, I think a lot of the music is getting in the way because, the secular music, it has no boundaries. It's just like, Nicki Minaj and blah, blah, blah. There's ways that the music is getting into the handset of the kids, and it's really changing their ability to relate, in a decent, sort of manner. You're being taught by YouTube how to do all these crazy things, and music is amplifying it. And, I listen to a lot of faith music. That was the one thing that was the big turning point for me coming to the Lord. One of the reasons why I didn't, for so many years, listening to Christian music, was because I didn't think there was anything that was good. It was just 9-minute gospel songs of 9-minute gospel songs of, some big black girl singing in a solo, right? And all of a sudden I heard, it was so funny. At the same point that this book came into my life, Little Drummer Boy from King and Country came on my Facebook feed, and there was 6 drum kits on stage. These guys are playing it like Nirvana and Queen, and it was unbelievable, man. And I just watched these guys, and I was like, "This is a Christmas song. What the heck is going on here?" And then I was like, "Who are these guys?" And I started listening to them, and they just captivated me. Their message, their performances, and then we went and seen them live, and it was the best band I've ever seen in my whole life. They mix electronic, they mix all sorts of different inspirational, just lyrics and everything. And so I stopped listening to secular music besides what we play live. So we kind of go out and we get our fill. But when we're needing inspiration, we're trying to take from faith-based music. And then so when we're listening to music, at home, that's what we listen to. And so if we can make a song that connects people, like that song connected me, if we can give something that grounds just one person, to me, that would make Destinique's 20-year run worth it. We're still trying to do it.
That's amazing. I mean, my next question was going to be, what moment in the studio or stage made you think this is why kind of God put me here on this earth? I feel like maybe you just answered that question.
Yeah,
you were seeking into my head there.
All of a sudden it just became my purpose. We got to get in the way.
Yeah.
We got. Are you out of here, Xander?
Yeah.
Come here and say hi to Lance here. This is my.
Oh, love the outfit, buddy.
Yeah,
the class. That's pretty
Xander.
Cool. I love it.
He's on
Yellow belt.
Thanks, guys. Okay, are you gonna go with Mom?
What
I love you. I made some notes.
Oh. You need some drawings in there too, right? The notes got to translate.
Yeah, that's right, man.
What are you doing?
Okay, I got it. We're still on live here, so
you're in the whole world?
Yeah, we're on the whole world right now. Yeah.
Okay, bye. Bye, world.
Bye. I love you.
Hi, Xander.
Have a good day.
Oh man.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I've had one other kid kind of come in, but it wasn't as heartwarming as that one. It was more like, shh, come on. Yeah. That's hilarious. So
I try to look through a couple of notes here, because I don't want to miss anything here.
Oh, you're all good. I'm like just trying to always manage time and manage kind of the questions and how you answer them, right? So we're good. So have
Yeah,
you
we're
ever?
good. They're Christina's gonna take them.
Oh, okay. So have you kind of ever questioned if you can be kind of both the artist and father you wanted to be? I know we've kind of talked about before you were maybe not necessarily thinking that you could be the father you wanted to be, but maybe is that changed? Like, because obviously you must feel more comfortable now in this in your own skin, in your own situation. You've kind of proved yourself, right?
Yeah. Um,
Because I think it's speaking to the fear initially. Like a lot of people have that fear. There's two primal fears, right? I will not be loved, or I'm not going to be good enough.
yeah, I'm not gonna be good enough. That was the voice that was in my head, like forever. And yeah, as soon as you let that off your shoulders, as soon as you know that, if you ask, if you pray for it, man, you ask for it, like, you'll get the help. When it's like when you have a baby, it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we have no money. How are we going to do this? Or, whatever it is at the time, all of a sudden the neighbors bringing stuff over. We found out that, there was some people in, a young couple in our complex that had a kid. We made a big pot of soup and we walked it over there, and it just comes around. People they want to be a part of that. Like, the birth of a baby is the most special thing in the world, man. People don't take it seriously enough, and it's I don't know what it is. Like, society just kind of makes it, I don't know. It's not as important in culture as it really is. Like, in the world, it's when you see that happen, like you've seen it a couple of times, things change, man.
Yeah. What's one small family ritual you hope your son carries on when you're gone?
Gosh. I would hope that he takes his family out, goes hiking a lot, like just stays out, gets outside and stays outside.
Yeah.
Just enjoys the good world that we have right now. I would think, yeah. I mean, as far as family, we celebrate Christmas and, Thanksgiving like everybody else. I hope that he gets to be on stage one day. I hope that he gets to feel what it's like.
Well, he's going to be on stage here shortly for judo, right? He's going to be performing.
Yeah, he just did his first tournament 2 weeks ago, and he was so freaked out because he'd never done a tournament before. And so the first one, he kind of was in there and he was like, figuring out his footing and stuff. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then he got taken down. And then the second one, he's like, okay, that's how it's got to be. And the second one, he just like totally tore it up.
Awesome.
So he won. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
if your son could only remember like one feeling about you, what do you pray that feeling is? And I know it's a similar question we talked about before, but it's more about the feeling element, not necessarily what you're saying, right? Because I could sense when he came in, there was that love there, right? That he can kind of come up to you and connect like that. So what's that? Maybe that one feeling.
I hope that he gets the feeling that I can protect him, that I'm there for him. Yeah, we do a lot of like, I think one of the questions was something that I like to do outside of the family or whatever. And it's now I've brought Xander into the mix, but coming from a farm, you always you chopped wood a year before, so it dried out. You canned goods so that it was in the cellar before, so you survived the winter, right? So I just kind of had that as a mindset. So I always sort of, even through COVID, I just kind of ramped up the the preps a little bit. So I like to do like emergency survival stuff and first aid, and I like to always I always carry a Leatherman, and I'm always like trying to be like ready for some little, I got to be a solution to a little problem that comes up. And so Xander's kind of seeing that now. He's like, oh Dad, can I get one of those tools too? So I'm trying to drag him into the mix. So we've got all these books and Bear Grylls stuff that we spend time kind of learning about, and it's cool because he's kind of getting some skills about it. But when COVID happened, I don't know if you want to talk that far back, but we Destinique was we were pushing, spending all our own money, trying to get on playlists, and it was kind of and it was just kind of we were riding a bit of a wave, and it wasn't really bringing home what we needed financially, and we were both kind of doing side jobs, and I have a film company that we were doing video on the side and stuff, and then as soon as COVID hit, it was like everything shut down. We're like, really? Awesome, man, we get a break. And then so we went camping for like, I don't know, we went camping for like a year. I think we went like 9 times or 10 times in one year, and we just like, see ya. So we learned a lot about each other with that. And then when we came back, it was a totally different ball game, and we just changed the perspective and became service-based, because that's kind of like what we were doing. We were serving inside as our family, we were serving each other, and then our business grew because like we applied that instead of, hey, I'm an artist, hope you like it. It was like, no, this is what we provide. Here we go. Let's make this the best possible event or whatever it is. And all of a sudden it just started to move forward like tenfold. We were hiring crew and buying equipment, and and we just stopped strangling it, and it just started to breathe. And so
I guess the sense of like music does one thing for your soul, and the kind of camping, hiking, staying active does another thing for your soul. How do you think those really differ?
Well, when you're outside, you see in the back there, when you're outside with nature, the natural world, I think you get out of the Wi-Fi zones, you breathe in the fresh air, the pollen, whatever it is, putting your hands in the river, that connects you to base. That connects you like physically to base. Whereas when you're online and you're swiping and all that stuff like that, that connects you to like a digital like version of the grid. And that's temporary. It's false. It's imitation. As far as, what the natural world provides. Yeah. And there's a lot of different frequency, like there's a lot of different rhythm that happens in, the pulse of a screen versus, the feeling of your hands in water or climbing a tree. Like there's a lot of different, there's health benefits to that, way more along the lines of staying inside and being online. So you have to balance. We're producing all the time. We're preparing for shows. We're cutting videos, whatever it is. So when you're, doing interviews, you sit there for a long time. And if you don't get out, you have to force yourself to get out. It really plays a trick on your health. And then if you have health problems, you can't go out and have fun with your family. You can't be drinking 6 beers a day or whatever it is, and wake up and have a good run in the day with your son because he wants to like get better for the football team or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Wavelengths for sure.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself, because at our age too, your body doesn't bounce back as easily as it did, and that shortens the time on the what you're going to be able to spend with your kids as you get older too. So, yeah.
So you kind of made a comment, I think, that your favorite food is your wife's homemade pho. So I'm very jealous because that's probably one of my favorite bowls. It's probably something that I don't cook, or at least not very often. So, I mean, what kind of happens around that table when that big batch of pho gets put out there? Like that's got to be a pretty heartwarming gathering.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, because it's made with like, giant, chunks of cinnamon bark and like, the real like, Asian recipe, right? A star anise and all the peppercorns and everything. Yeah. And Xander just sits around the pot, man. He loves it. He's really into texture. Like I noticed that the Asian culture is really into like texture. Like they like the tendons and the knuckles and the really bitey, chewy, crunchy things. And growing up on a farm, like we would put our chickens from the field into the freezer, and same with some beef and pork and stuff like that. And when you see that happen 10 years old and it's on a table and you're like, oh my god, I used to know that poor animal, it kind of gives you a little EBGBs, right? So I'm kind of like he likes all the knuckly, crunchy stuff, and he's like a little dog at the side of the table, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's heartwarming, man. We have I think dinner around the table is real important.
Yeah.
We try to like limit the amount of toys and no phones and all that stuff, and we just ask each other questions. We got a couple of games that we play. There's these cards, I forget what they're called, but they're like question cards or whatever, There's some that are based for family, some of them based for, a teenage part of your life in the family. And, you just pull a card out and you're like, hey, Dad. And then you're like, whoa, man, I didn't think you were going to ask me that. You just put stuff on the table and, just kind of keep conversation going.
Love it. So I've got maybe kind of one more question for you here. And it kind of revolves around a term. I mean, we've had similar questions related to this, but we've coined a term called the father mark. And it's essentially, the legacy that you leave on your kids, positive or negative, right? So I know you've kind of talked about a couple topics or things you want to pass on. When your son becomes a man, what do you hope you've kind of left on him as far as the father mark goes?
Gosh, yeah, we did answer that a little bit, but man, I would hope that he would know what kind of a lady to look for and what kind of a lady that he would want to build a family with, and to really understand that that's a partnership that's got to be worked on. And I hope that he sees that in me or Christina and I. And I hope that he sees that he's worth it and that he doesn't allow himself to be trampled on. I know that people get into, they just get into fixer-upper projects, and they're foreverly chasing these relationships that they think they can fix, and they don't want to be fixed, and it just takes them down 10 years of hell. And I just hope that stuff doesn't happen to him. I hope he sees that mom and dad as a successful relationship, and that he knows what that is as a healthy base to build a family from.
That is so powerful. I feel like there's not enough attention put on that as a conversation of what real relationships should be, right? There's not enough emphasis on maybe holding yourself for a higher set of standards and understanding what is a positive relationship versus maybe a comfortable one.
Yeah, it takes so much work. It's unbelievable, man. Like, and each time I read, like, I like keep on telling you, I read every night, and sometimes it'll just be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'll get home from a gig and, I'll just be so tired, but I'll just have to be like, okay, what is that's pointing to me for a reason. I read it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get something out of it. Sometimes I just fall right asleep, and it's, at least I know I touched it and I gave it a go. I think that having a guide, having like I don't know, just a compass, and you're walking in a direction that's like making your life and your family's life better. And that doesn't come by just guessing. I spend 40 years in the desert, we'll call it, trying out, different chakras and, the universe and, all these different, Buddhism and Jeet Kune Do and all these different, martial arts and stuff that I did. And I just, honestly, I was there for 30% of it. And then it just fell flat on its face. And I was back to drinking and trying to get rid of my, my energy that I had to spend somewhere. And, and then that's just, you just make mistakes. You're just constantly making mistakes, and then you're constantly cleaning up this mess. You're walking around your own house with a broom, and a dustpan, cleaning up your own mess. And then, so until you find a way to like steer your ship, there's I don't know, there's a lot of things that are going to come down the path that aren't going to be positive for your family. So
yeah.
faster, faster you realize that that you can't do it by yourself and you need help, man. You just pray for it, man. You gotta do the research, man.
Yeah. Knowledge is power for sure. One thing I actually might throw a tidbit on is I was having this same kind of issue where I was reading late at night, and I actually switched to reading first thing when I wake up in the mornings. And that was a big shift for me because that was when I was most fresh. And I
Right.
really start to challenge myself in reading, which also then turned into journaling as well. So that's something I do as soon as I wake up, and it's when it's most quiet.
Yeah.
And it's the time for yourself to really, I think, kind of be most fresh and sink in. So maybe that's a challenge for you to kind of try that for yourself, to try to do it in the morning rather than at night. But yeah.
Now, do you purposely wake up, like, say, half an hour before everybody else gets up? Like, say you're up at 7, like to get out of the door by 8 or whatever it is. Like, do you purposely wake up at, like, say, a half hour early or something, or 15 minutes early?
Yeah, I wake up between 4 and 4:30, and then the family usually wakes up at like 6. So I get full reading, journaling, working out, showering, meditation, stretching,
Wow.
all that stuff in before anybody's even a wink awake.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
That's killer.
My time to shine. But as soon as you get to that point, you're like, well, how much have I accomplished already in this amount of time, that you're fully kind of into the routine for the kids? I make the breakfast every morning. You usually do the drives. If not, my wife does that too, but it's like fully into it and aware, and just, into the routine with the family, with the time you have right before everybody kind of goes on their own ways.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, come at it. Just strong, open.
Structured in a way, again, we talked about systems and having things in alignment and understanding what you need on a regular basis, and not putting everybody else's kind of time and focus to the side. You have to do things for yourself first and foremost to make sure you're the best you can be on a regular basis, but at the same time respect what you have with your family, and when is the time that they have available, because everybody's got things going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest. I was up at 4:30 this morning too. That's probably the hardest, is the transition from the weekend to the weekday, the Monday, because you're just exhausted from just giving it on the weekend, and you get home 3, 4 in the morning, and then you got to be up at 7 or 6 or whatever it is on the way, and it's just like the turnaround is like,
Yeah.
it takes a day or so to get climatized.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I mean, I really appreciate you, brother, for taking this time. I know this is like probably different for most, but to be able to just have this conversation with you and your situation and your family, and I really appreciate you sharing and just taking the time to show up and be here and answer these questions. I think this has been super valuable for not only what I'm trying to achieve here, but what we're trying to do with the Father Figure Formula. And I hope this was valuable for you as well.
Oh man, Lance, thank you. Honestly, thanks. It really takes takes a village, right? And I honestly, more than anything, I'm so grateful that you asked, because more than anything, I've been really influenced by a lot of the reading that I'm doing, a lot of the podcasts I'm listening to, and the authors and what they're saying. And I know that having a bit of a voice, speaking from stage, it's like, I'm not going to start talking politics. I'm not, a politician. I'm not going to start saying, hey, come to church. But there are ways that I'm going to be able to take some of those values and sort of, if people are asking questions in the environments that I'm at, I can shine my lantern in their dark space, and I can maybe bring a light to some issue that that is common in that environment, and I think that's our job, man.